Thank you everyone for being on the webinar, and we're really glad to hold this webinar together with WWP EN to raise awareness on the issue of Stalkerware. So very briefly, what you can expect from this webinar is to have a first introduction, a basic introduction to what Stalkerware is. I will explain what is actually meant with that term, what is behind it, what can it do, and we will also have a look together then how it is installed. And then it's important that we understand how this works, the Stalkerware, to be able to fight it back, because that's, of course, as Ada said, our common goal as partners of the Coalition Against Stalkerware, to fight back Stalkerware. And I will also share some figures, some numbers on Stalkerware to give you a better idea. It's figures from us, from Kaspersky we have. And I will also explain a little our role and what we can do to protect against Stalkerware, to fight it. And I will end the webinar with some tips on how to know that a phone is affected from Stalkerware, and how to protect yourself and what to do. So I look forward to explaining now what actually is meant with the term of Stalkerware. And on this slide, there is a definition that we as the partners from the Coalition Against Stalkerware have agreed upon. I will read it once shortly, and then I will explain it step by step. So, Stalkerware is a software made available directly to individuals that enables a remote user to monitor the activities on another user's device without that user's consent and without explicit persistent notification to that user, in order to intentionally or unintentionally facilitate, intimidate, partner surveillance, harassment, abuse, stalking, and/or violence. So this sounds now super complicated, but it's actually step by step quite easily explained. First of all, what's really important to understand, Stalkerware is a software. So it means that this software, just like any other software programs, I will give a very easy example. For example, like Word. We all, or many of us, use Word, let's say. It can be installed on your device. And Stalkerware is mainly a software which is installed on your smartphone devices. So we're talking about a threat, a problem to your phones. And you can imagine Stalkerware being installed and coming to your phone. I will use some very non-technical, more easy language, because I really want you to understand how this all works. So Stalkerware can be seen and understood like an app that is installed on your smartphone. And the problem is, we all have apps on our smartphones that we use daily, but we chose to have those apps on our phone. But Stalkerware is different. It's a software, it's an app that has been installed on your device, or basically on the victim's device, without that the person knows it, has given consent to it. So there is no agreement to that. And that is the real problem, because the victim is being spied upon by the abuser, by the person who installed the Stalkerware on the phone. Because what Stalkerware can do, it monitors all of your information that is on your phone. It can read text messages, it can see photos, it can see who calls you. We will get to that still. But so just to give you a very basic understanding, it's a software that is being installed on your phone without that you know about it, and everything you do is being monitored, and the other person knows about it all the time. And what's also very important, a very important feature of Stalkerware, of the software is that it stays hidden. So it's a secret. It's a secret software. You cannot see. It's very hard to find it if you don't know about it. Then because it stays hidden and it remains secret. So this is the very first, let's say, introduction to have a very first idea of what is meant actually with the term stalkerware. And if we look further, then what are the features of stalkerware? I have already mentioned a few of them, and it's really scary because stalkerware, it depends on which, let's say, software type you chose, like the abuser chose to install on the victim's phone. It can have very different levels of access, of monitoring information. It really depends basically on the price the abuser paid for the software. So I think we all know it. There are always basic, medium, and premium, let's say, versions of any product. And depending on that, the abuser can use different functions. But very commonly, stalkerware is used to track where the phone, so where the device is being located. So basically, the abuser knows exactly with the GPS coordinates where the victim is located. So where you will go tonight, and when you just say you go and have a meeting with someone, with a friend, the abuser who has installed stalkerware on your phone, and usually we all take our phones with us. He mainly it's a he, so I will tend to use the term he in the webinar. He will know where you will go, and he could follow you. He could just do anything with that information. He also can read SMS, so any text messages, and it also doesn't matter if it's a regular short message or if it's a message in a messenger. The same goes for any videos or voice recordings, for any calls that we receive or any calls you dial, and any social media you use, and as well any pages you browse on your internet browser. So basically, you have to imagine it. The stalkerware enables an abuser to see everything the victim does, everything the victim has, even on the phone. So this is really, really the intrusive threat to privacy, and it's a very real danger that we have to talk about and we have to raise awareness. And I want to explain some more facts about stalkerware in my next slide. So there is on the left side you can see an explanation on stalkerware, and on the right side you see malicious spy programs being written there. So from our perspective as a cybersecurity company, we have to, of course, differentiate the different, let's say, softwares that are out there in the world. And I don't want to speak too much about the malicious spy programs. I just want you to also have heard of them once, that they're also out there. They're even more powerful and more sophisticated than stalkerware, but they're also much more difficult to being installed on phones. We're talking about really some, let's say, rocket science apps, so we can maybe forget about them. But just if you just that you're aware of that they exist. For stalkerware, it's how it works. How does it? How can you? What are, let's say, typical features of stalkerware? So in most cases, the software, the stalkerware, has to be manually installed on the phone of the victim. So it means that the abuser needs to know either the password to have access to the phone, or and he definitely needs to be able to have some physical access, like to get to the phone. That's very crucial to the stalkerware problem. We will see that also later. Another thing to know about the Stalkerware is that it can be easily found on the internet. So maybe some of you or most of you even have never heard of Stalkerware before. I myself, before I started working on this topic and started working with Kaspersky, which was last year, I have not been aware of Stalkerware. And I was in the beginning very shocked to learn about it. And still the information is on the internet. If you type in Stalkerware or even just a spying app in the browsers, you will find easily information on this. And I think you will know much better than I do that the people we talk about who are in abusive relationships, that's mostly the case. What we look at here, they will think of such possibilities, and they will find this information. And what is also even important to know that Stalkerware is even supplied as a service, in the sense that from a technical point of view, the abusers who install the app, they don't need to care about data storage, because this is a product, a service they just buy. It's all done. So unfortunately, this is all quite easy, I have to say, and we will also look at it in a bit. And also, I want to make an important last point about Stalkerware, which makes it very difficult also for us as companies to fight Stalkerware. There is no clear legal status on Stalkerware. So what do I mean with that? Of course, spying on someone without the consent of the person, that is illegal. That is clear. However, it is not illegal. The products, all these Stalkerware apps, they are not illegal themselves, because they advertise themselves as saying, well, we notify you as the person who buys our product that when you use our product, you have to give consent to using this product. And this is a very difficult legal loophole they use, and I'll explain later why and how this helps the Stalkerware products, but it's very bad, of course, for victims, and how it can be exploited. Okay, I will then try to talk very briefly about one important distinction, though. There is, on the one hand, Stalkerware, and there's, on the other hand, parental control apps. It's very important to understand one basic or two basic fundamental differences between these two apps. So parental control is, as the name already indicates, it is used by parents to control or to protect their children for a number of reasons. They may want to do that. The key differences between Stalkerware and parental control is that parental control always indicates its presence on the smartphone. So the kids, they see that there is an icon, they see that there is something installed on their phone. And when this software, the parental control software, is activated, when it's being in use by the parent to see what's going on with their children, then the child on the smartphone receives some notification on the phone. So they can see, oh, right now, this information is being shared with my father, my mom, or whoever. And that is fundamentally different with Stalkerware, because, as I said before, the Stalkerware apps, they hide, they are secret, they're not to be seen, not to be found. That's the whole goal. And they also do not give notification to the victims. That's what makes it so difficult, of course, for the victims to find out about it. So I hope this has become clear. And I will show you just a quick example on how these stalkerware apps advertise themselves. We'll also talk later about it, that they also disguise themselves often as even parental control or employer control apps. So to not give this such a, let's say, bad name, they use this more nicer words, but in the end, they are all often used and abused by partners for intimate surveillance. And unfortunately, the stalkerware apps are also not very expensive. So globally, we have gathered data, and so from our knowledge, we see that on average, it costs $24 per month to use a stalkerware application. So that's around 23 euros per month. So it depends, of course, on functionalities, what kind of product is being chosen by the abuser. But I think we can all agree that this is some money that unfortunately can be spent, and there's even also less expensive stalkerware. So this was, let's say, the very first rough introduction to have a general understanding what is meant with stalkerware. And now I want to have a closer look with you how the technical, how it's technically being done, how stalkerware can be installed. And of course, it can be. There's much more details behind, but as you can see on the slide, there are three basic steps, so to say. So stalkerware, as I said, is a commercial spyware. It's a software that can be purchased, and it needs to be downloaded from the dedicated websites from the companies who offer these kind of product. And after the abuser has done this, he or she needs to get access, physical access to the device. And then it's a matter of some steps of the configuration, so that he or she can surveillance the phone all the time. And what I will do with you now is I'll have a very detailed look, step by step, in fact, to how such stalkerware is really installed on the phone, because it's really not such a rocket science as it may sound in the beginning. So I hope you can see the pictures quite well. And I am just wondering if I can use this pointer here. That would be wonderful. I hope you can see the pointer on this on your screens. Great. Perfect, wonderful. I can thank you for the feedback. So what is being done, or what I show you here is that's also one important distinction. I show you an Android phone because in most of the cases we speak of Android smartphones that are being abused. I will explain a little bit after this why mainly Android and why Apple and iOS are not so much affected. So what happens? What's the first steps to install stalkerware on an Android phone? Well, so you open the settings in your Android phone, and then you go directly to the security part, and you check for the unknown sources. Why do you do that? Well, we'll see in the next slide. Sorry, I think there was, I'm looking for one. No, sorry, I just missed to explain one explanation. So in the unknown sources, you just check that you just click on check. Yes, I want to allow unknown sources to my own device. Okay. After you have done this, so when the abuser wants to install the stalkerware, he or she goes to the Play Store from Android and goes to the Play Protect settings, and there is a feature of the Play Protect store that scans for threats. Usually, all apps that are being installed on your phone are automatically scanned for any malicious attacks, and it's a very good thing, but it can also be enabled. And this is necessary from the abuser's point of view for installing the stalkerware. Because the stalkerware would otherwise be recognized all the time. The stalkerware app would be recognized all the time by the Google Play Store as a malicious software, and the user of the phone, so the victim, would get some notification. But this is a means how to avoid that. So this is also an important characteristic feature to look after when we speak later about tips how to protect yourself. Okay, so after the abuser has done this, he or she will go to the next step, and that is the installation of the Stalkerware app. Here in this example, we have used the True Spy app. It's as I said, it's on the internet. You can check on it in your browsers later. It's a bit shocking, but it's also in a way important to know and to understand how they advertise themselves. And I will also show this. So what is now important after, so to speak, the security guard of the Google Play Store has been taken down, that as a next step, the app itself, the True Spy app, I'll just call it, I'll just take the example now. It's being installed on the phone. And for that, it's important that, as I said, the software is being downloaded on the phone. So you just type into the browser True Spy app, and then you do the downloading of the software on your phone, and then you have the file on the phone. Okay. And then what you do, you just run the installation like with any other software, the execution of any other software. Okay, what will happen most likely then with your phone is that it will actually try to warn you, to say like, this is a malicious program. It has access to sensitive data. It intrudes your privacy, so it gives you a warning. But unfortunately, the person who is doing all this process is, of course, the abuser. So the abuser can just check on install anyway. So I just want to mention it because, in fact, there is, of course, in the system an attempt to protect, but it's useless because the abuser has the phone and is working with that. And after the installation is done, it's a matter of just registering. You can see it here on the screens, and then accepting all other necessary requirements as usual. It's not very hard. And then as a very last piece, I want to raise your attention to this part. So the True Spy gives you then in the configuration the option to hide the icon of this True Spy. And it will then, what I said before, it will then be secret. You can only in like the system, in the system administration part, you would have to look for it, and it's quite hard. So it's really it requires some efforts. Let's say if you, yeah, we will get to this, of course, still. So this would be the installation, and I think as you have seen and understood, it's something any of us could do. And also, I show you now in this slide that if you feel like you could not do this, so if an abuser would like to have it's even easier, then for example, the app FlexiSpy, they offer a delivery. So they give you a pre-installed phone, they deliver to your door as a service, and you don't have to do anything. You just have to buy this pre-installed phone from them. And also there is from all the let's say producers of Stalkerware, there's always like step-by-step explanation how to install their product. So what I just did with you, most of them have on their websites. So the information is out there. It's not hard to find it. And that's something I've just shown before. But what I want to raise your awareness on is the part of jailbreaking, because I'll get to that in a second. Jailbreaking is related to Apple and iOS phones because it's much more complicated to install Stalkerware on iPhones. That's why I was focusing also in my example on Android, because also we from Kaspersky, we can protect. We have our protection product only for Android, because iOS, Apple has a lot of restrictions and limitations, which makes it not only more difficult for Stalkerware, but also for cybersecurity solutions to be on the phones. So but my point here is that the producers of Stalkerware, they want to make it as easy as possible for abusers, and it's something very concerning. As mentioned, Stalkerware and iOS is a bit of a different topic, because Stalkerware can be installed on iOS devices, but it's a much more difficult process. Why is that? iOS, Apple is a closed system. That is by design, by default. That's the idea how Apple and iOS works. And it has its pro and its cons. Its pro side is that the system is very protected as itself, because it's closed from the producer, from Apple. But it also means there is no flexibility in the system, and therefore to install Stalkerware on the device requires quite a lot of technical effort. It's called jailbreaking. I will not go into detail on that, because we see most of the problems with Stalkerware on Android phones, and jailbreaking, even though it's possible, it's really quite some complicated process that requires more technical skills. So I'll leave it out for this presentation. Some figures and numbers I promise to you. So we as Kaspersky, we are a cybersecurity company. So we have lots and lots of products for all different scenarios, how to protect how to protect any digital devices, industry, and so on and so on. But today we talk about Stalkerware, and we have also a solution to protect your mobile phone from any malicious programs. And just from our figures, from our statistics, in the last year, in the first 8 months, we had conducted we had analyzed our own figures. We've seen that more than 37,000 Kaspersky users had Stalkerware on their phones. That's globally. And this number may not seem so big, but as I said, it's only our users. We're one of the global leaders in cybersecurity, of course, but we are in the end just one company. And that's very concerning. And what's even more concerning, what we've seen, comparing the numbers from 2019 with the same time frame from 2018, we've seen an increase of 35% of Stalkerware globally. And this is really a huge problem we want to address. And I want to make a short excursion, so to speak, on a topic I have not been focusing so much, and something that we also have not so much basically no data, unfortunately, on. But Stalkerware is a gendered phenomenon. That's something that we as the coalition as Stalkerware, so we with WWP EN and us as Kaspersky, we agree that that the majority of victims are women. And while there's need for more data and figures and research on Stalkerware, on digital violence, the data we receive also from other sources, from European institutes, is that definitely this is a phenomenon where abusers are mainly men and victims are mainly women. And this is something that is important to mention, to be aware of as well. And speaking of Europe, this is again on the slide. You can see, I think very small, unfortunately, but hopefully you may see a little bit how Europe is affected. So we have looked into our own Kaspersky figures, how is the problem distributed in Europe. And we can see in dark or bright red, you can see Germany and Italy being the most affected countries, and then followed by France, Spain, and the United Kingdom. These are the top 5 countries, but we also see it in other countries like the Ukraine, in Poland, Belarus, Switzerland. And this is definitely Stalkerware is definitely a problem that affects all of us in all the European countries. That is something we can say for sure. Okay. Now I have a look.
To quickly say, you have 10 minutes.
I have 10 minutes left. Okay, then I will speed up a bit. I wanted to talk now about cybersecurity solutions. So basically, what is our part in this game? But I think I have mentioned it already. So we have a product, a cybersecurity solution for your mobile phones, for Android, that can help you to protect. And what you can see right now is what are the different kinds or some of the different Stalkerware apps we can detect on the phones, and what does detection mean actually. I'll skip that and come directly to this. You'll see here on the slide on the left-hand side a notification. So when you use our product, then you as user of the phone, so you will get a notification that you have a Stalkerware app on your phone. If we have the app in our database, then we can inform you. And this is definitely, you receive a so-called privacy alert. So it's a warning that this and that app that is installed on your phone has access to your private data. As I mentioned before, the text messages, calls, and so on and so on. And this is the first step. It means that you are aware, okay, there is something on my phone that shouldn't be there. And I wanted to speak also very briefly on the coalition against Stalkerware. And I will give it just very briefly these slides that we convened in 2019, like Anna said last year, because together with these, so we're 10 great organizations working together to raise awareness on this problem. Because as I think you have seen and understood, this is a real threat and it's growing. And we just need to spread the knowledge and to empower people to be able to protect themselves and to fight back, and to be able to speak to knowledgeable experts like you, WWP EN, like other victim help service organizations, and like us, to be able to get help. So that's our mission as Coalition Against Stalkerware. And I just wanted to show you that with this, that there are some real people also behind. But coming now maybe to the important part of how to know and how to protect yourselves. Well, first of all, check the installed apps on the phone. So not only the regular thing that you have on where you look at the app icons, because as I said, the icon, it will not be there. You will not find it. You'll have to dig deeper. You'll have to look even further in some folders that you have may never looked into. Everything has to be checked. If there is a suspicion, then this is one of the steps. And then definitely when you look at the apps, you should have a look if they have some permissions that are very wide, like access to GPS tracking, SMS, and so on. I know many of the apps have that. It's not easy, but this is so far some of the best tips. Plus, of course, as I mentioned before, use a cybersecurity solution that helps you, that is trained to detect these apps. And this would be definitely one of the best tips. It's you've seen before on the coalition, there are also us and other IT security companies with whom we partner in the coalition. We have a solution at least to detect it, so that you are aware of the problem. The question then, what are the symptoms? So how could you even become suspicious that something is wrong? Well, definitely what we can say from a technical point of view, low battery life, because Stalkerware, the software, it needs a lot of data. So it takes a lot of battery, of course, for the abuser to look at your phone all the time. It means that your phone is also working all the time, and it needs to use the energy somewhere. So low battery life, when the battery is drained very quickly. High data usage is also, if suddenly the mobile data is used all up. Longer response time, because of course all the time there is some information exchange. So when the phone is really working slowly, that are all symptoms. And definitely looking at the unknown sources settings enabled on the Android Play Store, what we have seen in the beginning when I was explaining the step-by-step installation of Stalkerware. However, and there are some other parts and even more that I will not go into detail, because we are working very closely with non-profit organizations because they are the expert on this part. We are more on the technical side, but we are happy to also learn and spread the knowledge. So that's why I keep it short and saying symptoms are not proof. So best is to get professional help. And I have also linked there the Stop Stalkerware website, where there is a long, detailed explanation also how to try to detect maybe yourself if there is a problem. And maybe the question is then, well, should I consider removing Stalkerware installed on a device? It's a very difficult question, and the answer is actually it's not clear, because you need to be aware that if that is being done, then the abuser will know, and this can make things worse than they are, and therefore it's really, really a difficult question. And we from the coalition rather tend to say get some professional help if you find out that you are in such a situation. And what you can do if you suspect to have stalkerware is, as I said now, aside from getting professional help, is definitely change all passwords and create new logins and passwords for all accounts from a safe device. So not using your own phone, but maybe a friend's phone, or maybe you can use a computer from work, or some other device, just not your own. And last but not least, how to minimize risk. Have very strong passwords in general. Don't give your password away to no one. That's really key. And check regularly the apps on your device for sure, so you know what's really on your phone, and use a good cybersecurity protection. And with that, I give a word back to Anna.
Thank you very much, Christina. So, as you already heard, we've been involved with the Coalition Against Stalkerware since 2019. We learned about the problem of stalkerware in 2019. We weren't previously aware of the problem. And because of this, we're not at a point where we can actually offer definitive suggestions on how perpetrator programs, how our members can deal with stalkerware. However, in preparation for this webinar and through our involvement with the coalition, we sat down and we developed some initial suggestions for programs. First of all, we would suggest that you educate yourself, that your staff educates itself about stalkerware and cyber violence. So congratulations for being in this webinar. Step one done, more or less. Second, it would be good to start asking questions about stalkerware and other violent behaviors in online spaces and your intake process into the program. Just to have the information and to be able to address the problem. It would be very helpful if you could get in contact with local victim support services if you aren't yet, and ask them how they are addressing the issue. Because, and this is important, it would be helpful in your partner contact with the partners of the men that you work with to include information on the indicators for stalkerware. But at the same time, it would of course also be really good if these partners had the local victim support services that they could get in touch with for support with this issue, for further support with this issue. Additionally, programs could facilitate sessions about the coercive controlling nature of stalkerware and cyber stalking, because in the end, it's just a new form of living this coercive controlling behavior. So, yeah. And last but not least, there is a wider problem of violent online behavior that is tied to violence against women, that is tied to misogyny. So we believe that it would be quite valuable for programs to start having conversations on the bigger issue of cyber violence and violent online behavior and how that ties into the men's violence against their partners. But all in all, the Fazit, we say in German, the conclusion, the conclusion is that more data is needed. And so it would be really helpful if you share any data that you have with us, or that you just stay in touch, get in touch with us if you aren't yet, and talk to us about what you're doing or what you want to do about this issue. So I think that's everything from our side. So I haven't seen any questions come in yet, but I actually have one. And we can go into the Q&A mode while other people start typing their questions. Oh, and I made a typo. Oh well, but I think the question is clear anyway.
Yes.
I would like to know how the problem of stalkerware became public knowledge, how the whole discussion on stalkerware started.
Mm-hmm. So from our perspective as Kaspersky, we entered a discussion with Eva Galperin from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who are also partner in the coalition against stalkerware now, which is really great. So Eva, she had a personal story where in her personal field, someone was a victim of stalkerware, and she thought that this would be let's say just one case, and made a tweet about it. So something in the way like, if you have a problem like this, then just let me know and I will help you. And she received lots and lots and lots of messages to that tweet, and so she became aware of this problem, and she started to really look into it. And what Eva did was really great. She spoke with us from industry, because we can be part of the solution, as I explained in my talk. And that's it's one part. So we of course we were already like detecting. More and more of these programs, let's say. But for us, from something I couldn't say, something I will explain now, from us as from a technological point of view, from a cybersecurity point of view, in the beginning, Stalkerware was just another malicious program until we started to look further into it and to identify more and more the problems of it and the specificalities of it. And what has been really great is not only speaking to Eva, but also speaking to more organizations, to you from WWP EN. And this is really important to continue. Yeah, spreading the word.
So we just got a question, which I'm going to publish anyway. Did we start earlier than 3 p.m.? No, in fact, we started 3 p.m. Central European time. So we started on time, but I wanted to let you know that we are recording this webinar, and you can go to the WWP YouTube channel, and probably we're going to put the recording online. We do have to consider some issues around safety, but as Christina already said, a lot of the information is already online. So there is a recording of the webinar. If you want to have it, just let me know. Send me an email. I'm Anna McKenzie I'm the communications manager for WWP. And you can find me on our website, and we'll send you the recording. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry you missed it. There's a You're welcome, Tanya. There is a question that came in. How do we make potential victims aware without bringing potential offenders on new ideas? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to take that?
Yes. So
yeah. Good. Sorry.
I think we can do it together. It's a question. Thank you for asking it. It's a question we have been asking ourselves a lot as well, and it still feels sometimes a bit, let's say, strange to talk about it, to raise awareness. But as I said in the webinar, all this information is already out there, and I think there is just a very small number of abusers or potential abusers that are given a new idea that I if I think it's really the other way around. It's more making the victims aware, because why would you think something is wrong with your phone just out of the blue? I think it's very hard. So yeah, these are my 2 cents, but maybe Anna, you want to add to it.
So one of the members of the coalition is the National Network to End Domestic Violence from the United States of America, and they have been active against cyber violence, but also specifically active against stalkerware for, I think, almost a decade. If I remember that correctly. So this is actually an issue that's been around for quite a while, and they've been working on it. And when we mentioned this concern, and we still have that concern to a certain degree, they said that the information was so widely available that we shouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
At the same time, yeah, sorry, because
No, go ahead. I'll add to it
no,
at
I'm
the same
done.
time. Okay. Maybe one fact that puts it into relation. Our own figures show that we see a 35% increase globally on the rise of stalkerware, and this was from 2018 to 2019. And seriously, we're just at the start of us as coalition, and as many more, hopefully, may they be members, very welcome of the coalition, or acting on their own to raise awareness on the problem. So what I want to say is that this has been rising, that it will be rising, unfortunately, I'm very sure of it, without that there is already a lot of awareness and for the victims. So potential offenders already know